Yes, let's do it right now. So we got a report this morning that dropped, by Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter, I'm coming for your job, bro. Anyway, basically, the Chicago Bears are leaning towards trading the first overall pick. Now, the question should be, and is, which team should trade for the Bears' #1 pick overall the most? And Zay, the mic is yours.
I think for me, if Seattle is unwilling to sign Geno Smith to the contract that he wants, Seattle Seahawks have an opportunity to draft a quarterback at #1, and they could give the Bears multiple first round picks in the same draft. That allows the Bears to still select who they want amongst the that first round, whether it's offensive line or defense, to cater to having Justin Fields as a franchise quarterback. I think Seattle Seahawks are in a precarious situation because they don't know what Geno Smith's asking price is to remain the starting quarterback over there in Seattle. And maybe Seattle doesn't want to pay nobody. Maybe they want to go after a rookie, a guy that could show maximum potential on a new roster with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and Noah Fant. So it's gonna be interesting to see what Seattle does. But I think no, they want it the most because every other team doesn't really make sense at the moment. The Houston Texans have a high draft pick. They can still draft a quarterback, a high end quarterback at that, so they don't have to give up extra picks to the Bears. I think Seattle Seahawks are in a situation where they need some kind of they have a good situation in hand to get them to what they want and what they need. And I think Seattle is adding that quarterback mix with whatever they have going on works out perfectly for them. The question is, do the Bears want to trade within the NFC? That's my biggest question. So Seattle may have to offer, like I said, both those draft picks in the first round to move up to that #1 because they're in the NFC and the Chicago Bears are going to have to see them down the line or multiple times in that season. So it's gonna be interesting what should be done. But I think Seattle is the team that should trade for them the most, since Geno Smith asking price could be higher with Daniel Jones asking for 30 plus 40 million. And that's kind of everyone's on hold to see what all these quarterbacks are getting re-signed for, because Geno Smith might ask for that price that Seattle's not willing to pay for.
I mean, you talk about trading within your conference. I'm not sure if they're going to want to trade in their division. However, I do believe they have the cards. The #1 overall pick, they control the offseason, period. The Chicago Bears. The offseason is running through Chicago. And I feel that if they get the right ransom, no matter if the team is in their division, that they're going to be willing to pull the trigger. Because if not, then why not draft the quarterback yourself if you're worried about sending him to your competitor? Why not draft Bryce Young yourself if you're worried about Bryce Young going somewhere else and beating you? Then you should be drafting him and trading Fields. But I don't think they believe in Bryce Young as much as they do Justin Fields. So I'm pretty sure whatever the ransom is, if it's hefty and the right price, they'll trade him to whoever. And that's why I'm going the Detroit Lions here for me. I think they should trade for Bryce Young. Listen, I thought about this long and hard because Jared Goff, phenomenal job this year operating the offense. They were top 5 in scoring offense. They were moving the chains. Okay, he played well. He played probably better than he did on the Rams. Now, I know I might get pushback for that because he went to a Super Bowl, but although he had phenomenal numbers on the Rams, like 300 yards, he'll throw 2 interceptions, and he wasn't good in the clutch. On this team, although he didn't have the explosion as far as passing yards, he didn't turn the ball over, and that was critical, especially the way how this offense operates with the 2 running backs. They run the ball a lot. They have a lot of weapons. It's catered to Jared Goff, but it can be catered to Bryce Young, and that's why I'm going with him because if you're the Lions, you're still building out your team. Even though you took a step next year, doesn't mean the next step is Super Bowl. You still have time. You still have assets to build out and plan out your roster. Obviously, defense is where you want to focus, but if you can, in the process of building your defense in the draft and free agency, possibly Jalen Ramsey, you can draft a quarterback in Bryce Young, whom you don't even have to play this year because he got Jared Goff signed through 2024. So worst case scenario is actually the best case scenario. If you're winning with Goff, your quarterback whom you drafted in Bryce Young has an opportunity to learn and see what it's like to make the playoffs and learn under Jared Goff. Now, let's say you go deep. Well, hey, you go deep, right? You try to win with Jared Goff. But we all know eventually Bryce Young is going to be the guy whom you give the keys to. And if Jared Goff this year was a facade and next year he starts to struggle, then guess what? Midway in the season, you could pivot to Bryce Young. You have the right ecosystem. He brings you playmaking ability that Jared Goff just doesn't bring. He brings you upside that Jared Goff doesn't bring. Right? He could throw the ball deeper. He could run. He's athletic. He gives you that tool to open up the offense even more. And you run the rock a lot. You got DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. You could ease him into the flow. And this is the home run for me. Jameson Williams, wide receiver, played with him in college in Alabama. So we all know the NFL likes to pair former quarterback and wide receivers from college in the NFL. We see it with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. We see it with Jalen Waddle and Tua potentially. We could see it with Bryce Young and Jameson Williams because I don't even believe Jameson Williams have that chemistry with Jared Goff yet. They were not connecting like that towards the back end when he was activated. But Bryce Young, on the other hand, I believe that chemistry is going to be flowing. So if I'm the Lions, and I ain't lying, I ain't trading up. Hold up, Bears. What about me? What do I get? You get the number 6 pick, brother. So you can find somebody else to drive with. You're getting the number 6 pick. You can still take somebody with a high pick that's going to help your team win. Sounds like a win-win for me. That's why I'm going that route.
That's a fantastic choice, the Detroit Lions. I think, when it's all said and done, like how long does Jared Goff have in that Detroit Lions team, especially if you're building for the future? He's already up there in age. You should go start looking at young quarterbacks, and why not Bryce Young? No pun intended. I got one other team, and this team just popped over my head, and it's because of the interview we had the other day with Lake Lewis Jr.
I got the same team as my second. Yep.
It's like, how much faith do we have in Sam Howell? How much faith do they have in Sam Howell? So it's interesting. And I remember when I asked Lake Lewis Jr., because the reports were buzzing about Chase Young potentially uncertain about his future in Commanders. And if the Commanders are desperate for a quarterback, why not try to move some talent that they have to go after that number 1 spot? The Bears are looking to add talent to their team. So why not add a talent plus that draft pick they have? They go over that number 1 spot and get Bryce Young over there with Eric Bieniemy. You have a long-term team right there, and you got Eric Bieniemy to teach a young kid to become a star in this league in the NFC East, which could possibly be wide open if the Eagles don't recoup some of that talent back that they may lose during the free agency. So it's gonna be interesting to see if the Commanders, how high they are on Sam Howell, even though they just drafted him. But if they have the opportunity to go for that number 1 pick because the Chicago Bears are selling, do you overlook that because you have faith in Sam Howell, who is not Bryce Young, who's probably not Bryce Young at all, and you're confident because he had one good game to say, yeah, we're sticking with him? I don't think so. I think Bryce Young is on their horizon. I know Eric Bieniemy is probably in the ears to do what we can to get him. The Commanders have enough talent to facilitate a trade in that nature, and the Bears will take any players, young players at that, young talented players to that team because the Bears need everything they could possibly get their hands on. So if you could add some players plus a pick, they'll be more than appreciative because they have the cap space to cater to these players. And on top of that, they're getting another draft pick to draft another young player, another talented guy. So I think right now, Bryce Young should be on the Commanders' draft list. They should be on we need to see what they're offering, what we could offer them to get Bryce Young over here and get that number 1 pick.
That's my second team. I agree 100%. I like the Commanders as my second team to make this deal because they've been shuffling veteran quarterbacks and it hasn't been working out. Ryan Fitzpatrick, that didn't work out immediately. Carson Wentz was another one that didn't work out, and they should have known because they should saw the devil in the detail when that situation didn't work on the Colts and the situation before that, right? So I think having a young quarterback will do that team justice. Look, when I look at the Commanders, to me, and this is just my opinion, they have the best talent as far as the skills position in the whole entire NFC. Now, you can argue the Eagles, right? I can go either way on that. But when you talk about guys like Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, who's underrated, who else? Curtis Samuel, right? Who's versatile. I will probably take their receiving corps. So if you're Eric Bieniemy, you took the job because you want a head coaching job, right? Kansas City wasn't cutting it because you was behind Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes' shadow. So now you're trying to create your own legacy here, but you need a quarterback to work with. Like the Commanders need to do right by Eric Bieniemy. You cannot hire him to set him up to fail, to end up right back on Kansas City. He needs a quarterback whom he can trust to operate his system and bring the ceiling of his system out. Because I do believe that Eric Bieniemy has some stuff in his back pocket that he's going to use, some innovative ways to run an offense in the NFL. But we all know quarterbacks can hold your ceiling, hold your offense down. And I'm not sure if I believe in Sam Howell. Now, salute to Lake Lewis Jr. That's my guy. He comes on the show, fan of the show. He gives us the insight from the Commander's perspective and all that. But I'm not buying that Sam Howell take, bro. I'm just not. So if I'm the Washington Commanders, I am trading up to try to drive Bryce Young and steal that #1 pick. So this way, your long-term answer is there. And now you have a guy whom you can trust. And it would kind of just revamp the Commanders organization in general. You know, you got a black offensive coordinator, you got a black starting quarterback. You won a Super Bowl, the first team ever to do so with a black quarterback, Doug Williams. You can kind of remodel your franchise. All you need to do is get yourself a new owner. You got yourself a new quarterback, a young quarterback. You got yourself a nice offensive coordinator. You got you some weapons, and guess what? You're up for business.
Hey man, I agree with that. I think the Bears are, like I said, they're in a situation where they need talent. The draft. I know they want to draft someone high, but they still need talent. At the end of the day, selling the #1 pick is their best option for them, and I'm glad they realized that. They I think a quarterback and running back situations are good. I like Khalil Herbert, Justin Fields. You keeping him. You need everything else. You need linemen. You need receivers. You need
They
defensive
definitely
players.
need receivers.
You need there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things this Bears team needs for certain. So hopefully, this #1 pick they're able to trade to the team that offers them the most commodities to get it in. It's not just the draft pick. They need players. So if like you stated, if the Commanders are looking to enhance that quarterback position to a top pick from a top school, then I think this is the best time to do it. And hopefully we see something down the line of breaking news.
Yeah, you got Jalen Hurts in your division. You got no pun intended, Danny Dimes in your division. You got Dak Prescott, who I'm not really a fan of, but a lot of people consider him talented. Knock yourself out, whatever you feel, whatever you believe. Sure enough, okay. So that'd be a guy that could compete against all of those guys, in the future. I would say one more team, honorable mention here, the Indianapolis Colts. They need a quarterback. They hired Stain Steichen as the offensive coordinator. He's worked with Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Drew Brees, guys with different skill sets, right? Think about the quarterbacks I just named, different skill sets. He can work with Bryce Young. What do I know from a track record with guys that run offense and call offensive plays? They like a quarterback. They like guys that doesn't cap the offensive ceiling of the team. So if you're staying stationed in the Indianapolis Colts, you need a quarterback. You should definitely be on the line here to take that pick from the Chicago Bears.
You know, I want to say a hot take, a super hot take. And this is because I told you I was on 1,000 today. And I have to say it. The Baltimore Ravens. They're talking about they don't want to re-sign Lamar Jackson to that money. They don't want to give him that deal. The Chicago Bears will gladly give Lamar Jackson all the money he wants in the world to play for Chicago. They'll give him the guaranteed money. They'll do everything. And then what do the Ravens get in return? I don't know if they want Justin Fields, but they get that #1 pick. And you could draft Bryce Young with Todd Monken, the guy who just turned over Georgia, and hopefully they'll have a amazing NFL career in Baltimore. And you give Bryce Young to the Baltimore Ravens and
I like
enhance
the
John Harbaugh.
creativity of that, but I gotta ask you a question before you continue.
Mhm.
I like that creativity. I was thinking about it but from a different way. But since you brought it up that way, so what do you do with Fields? So you mean to tell me the Bears will trade both Fields and the #1 pick? So they would trade. They would do two separate trades. They would trade Fields somewhere else. They would trade the #1 pick for Lamar Jackson.
Mhm.
That's
And then
interesting.
I would say personally, you probably trade Justin Fields, like you said, to the Colts or maybe to Detroit
Imagine that.
Lions. or maybe even to, let's say, the Giants, who desperately need a quarterback, who don't know what Daniel Jones is going to be doing and how much they offering. If the reports are true and he's asking for 35, 40 million, and
45 million.
the reports are true that the Ravens don't know exactly what to do with Lamar Jackson, the team with the most cap space in the league is the Chicago Bears. They're going to offer him the most money. They're going to give him guaranteed money to make sure Lamar Jackson stays. And on
So
top of that,
you won't do a Justin Fields and Lamar swap. You will advise the Ravens, I mean, excuse me, the Chicago Bears to do two separate trades to receive all the assets that they can get for Fields and the #1 pick. That's the route you would rather go than just doing a straight up Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson swap.
yeah, because I think the Bears wouldn't want to just do a swap, because I think they'll still want Bryce Young. I think the Bryce Young is, if they're looking at Bryce Young's talent, what he could potentially be with the offensive coordinator just added, I think that's something they like, because Justin Fields 2 years in, not saying that he is at fault for the play style he had to do, but it's not to the liking of, yeah, he could change our franchise around, or he could help develop what we've already started our foundation at. I think Bryce Young, you put him in a situation with J.K. Dobbins there, that front line, the defense, with John Harbaugh and Todd Monken, that you could have potentially the quarterback that they wanted Lamar Jackson to be in Bryce Young. And that's, that playoff winner, the guy who could win the game, the big games. And I think that's something that a lot of teams see in Bryce Young. So if Lamar Jackson is not budging on the contract and the guaranteed money, the Bears, I know, will gladly oblige and pay him, because Lamar Jackson is about the money. It's not about nothing else besides the money.
That's a very, very interesting take that I think really, really is very creative. Like, I never really thought about that from that perspective. Like, I did thought of the Phil straight up for Lamar Jackson. I thought about that. But if you're the Bears, to trade both Fields and the #1 overall, two separate deals to get Lamar Jackson and to get the assets from the #1 overall to build around Lamar Jackson, that's tough. That's tough. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's creative though, but it's crazy. Imagine if the Bears do that. They will send the whole NFL offseason into like Armageddon mode. Honestly, like that'd be crazy. But yeah, that's why you listen to the show.
Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.